The French government have blamed what they described as industrial-scale fraud for the chaotic scenes before the Champions League final in Paris. The authorities have expressed their regret at the disorganised scenes, but reiterated their claims that Liverpool fans were responsible for the trouble outside the Stade de France. The game against Real Madrid was delayed for more than 30 minutes as supporters waited to get into the stadium before police fired tear gas into the crowds.
I would like to express our regrets with regard to the organisation of this final, because some people were not able to see the whole of the match. And of course, I deplore also the errors that took place before this football match. First of all, I'd like to remind you that this match was organised at the Stade de France, and the decision was made 3 months ago after the geopolitical situation in Moscow. And normally it takes a very long time to organize a match of this size. So 3 months for the Stade de France and for the French Football Federation were asked to do this, carried out this match. So the difficulty that arose, and only arose from the entrance relating to the Liverpool supporters and not the other entrances, the Spanish supporters and the rest of the spectators. What was noted, there was massive fraud at an industrial level and organisation of fake tickets, because the pre-filtering by the Stade de France and the French Football Federation thought that 70% of tickets were fake tickets coming into the Stade de France. Once going through the pre-filtering stage, it was also noted that 15% of fake tickets also were after the first filtering. In other words, more than 2,600 tickets were confirmed by UEFA of non-validated tickets, even though they'd gone through the first filtering. The massive presence of these fake tickets, of course, was the issue that meant that there were delays three times. 3 times the beginning of the match was delayed.
Well, our chief reporter, Kaveh Solokul, was in Paris on Saturday night. Kaveh joins us on set now. And first of all, of course, we're sticking solely to the facts here. Does what was said there tally with what you saw outside the Stade de France on Saturday night?
It does not tally at all with what I saw. Let's be clear what's happened in Paris this morning. We've had a meeting between the French Sports Minister, the French Interior Minister, and also UEFA and the police chief, the Paris police chief, Didier Lallement. Now, I'm sure at this meeting this morning, the police chief had been asked what happened on Saturday. This is embarrassing for France. It was a shambles. Look at all the terrible headlines around the world. We're supposed to be France. We were supposed to be capable of hosting this event. We're hosting the Rugby World Cup next year. We're hosting the Olympics in 2024. Explain to us what went wrong. And I think the police chief has passed the blame on for what happened onto, first of all, they tried to blame Liverpool supporters, and now they're trying to blame fake tickets. Now, I'm sure there were some fake tickets. There are always fake tickets for big finals, but I did not see anything that looked like an industrial, massive fraud operation. For instance, I didn't have Liverpool supporters coming up to me and telling me, complaining or being upset that they'd bought fake tickets. They were coming up to me complaining about the fact that they were being tear gassed, they were being pepper sprayed, they were being crushed, they were being treated like animals by the French police. What I saw was a shambles, was total disorganisation, and the blame was totally with UEFA, the French authorities, the stadium authorities, and the French police. We had a situation where 20,000 Liverpool supporters turned up at that stadium early, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours before kickoff, and they were asked to wait in a confined space, and there was a gap which was only big enough for one person to go through that 20,000 people had to be filtered through. There was no information, no signs. The whole thing was a total shambles. And to blame it all on just fake tickets, I don't think anybody who was at that game is going to accept this version of events that the French authorities are putting out this morning. And also, very significant, we've had this meeting this morning, the French Sports Ministry, the French Police, the French Interior Ministry, UEFA, stadium officials, There were no Liverpool supporters at this meeting. There were no Real Madrid supporters at this meeting. I would treat with extreme caution what was said at this press conference.
Right. It's quite staggering when they say 70% of tickets were fake. Did you see a single fake ticket?
Did I see a single fake ticket? No, I didn't. Not a single supporter came up to me and said, I was sold a fake ticket, I've wasted thousands of pounds on this. I saw some very, very upset supporters because they were being treated terribly by the French police. That is what I saw. I saw women and children in tears, women and children being tear gassed. The whole thing was a total shambles. The tickets, yes, I understand the French authorities only had 3 months to prepare for this final because, of course, the final was supposed to be in St. Petersburg. It was moved 3 months ago. Normally, the authorities have about 2 years to get ready for these finals. So everything was done very, very quickly. But I still don't think that excuses what happened on Saturday.
And you only had to see the coverage to see that the Real Madrid fans were seemingly inside the stadium a long time before the Liverpool fans, really. What do you make of what they've said today about the Real Madrid side of things?
Well, look, I was at the Real Madrid end of the stadium as well. According to this press conference, 97% of Real Madrid supporters were inside the ground at 9 p.m. when the game was supposed to kick off, and only 50% of Liverpool supporters were inside the ground. Now, Real Madrid supporters I spoke to and what I saw with my own eyes, there were a lot of problems at the Real Madrid end as well. I know you're seeing this narrative, especially on social media, that how come there are only problems at the Liverpool end? Everything was nice and peaceful and everyone was happy at the Real Madrid end. That was not the case. I was actually pepper sprayed at the Real Madrid end of the ground. There were major problems at the Real Madrid end of the ground as well. There were many, many local French youths who got into the Real Madrid end of the ground. Many Real Madrid supporters were mugged and attacked after the game as well. So it was not all happy, happy, clappy at the Real Madrid end of the ground either. So I think we should be careful when we talk about what happened. There were problems at the Real Madrid end. There were major, major problems at the Liverpool end caused by the police and the stadium authorities and UEFA. They are who was to blame. It wasn't this phantom fake ticket, massive industrial fraud operation. It wasn't Liverpool supporters turning up late. It wasn't Liverpool supporters trying to bunk into the stadium. I saw with my own eyes thousands and thousands of Liverpool supporters behaving in an exemplary fashion. We all know what has happened in the past at major, major games involving Liverpool supporters, and there is no way that Liverpool supporters would have misbehaved in the way some people are accusing them of misbehaving. And I make this point again. If there were thousands and thousands of fake tickets, we would have known about it. We were on the concourse. We were there with all those Liverpool supporters. They weren't complaining about fake tickets. They were complaining about UEFA and the French police.
Well, brilliant to have someone who was on the ground for us. So thank you for joining us today.